Now, the teen caught on camera bullying 15-year-old Lufuno Muvhanga appeared in court again today for her formal bail hearing. The 14-year-old arrested on a charge of common assault after Lufuno committed suicide. Charge later amended to assault with attempt to do grievous bodily harm. Well, today her bail application continued. Let's discuss the court process now for an underage suspect. And I'm joined by Zita Nefale, Senior Project Coordinator at the Centre for Child Law in Pretoria. Thank you so much for your time this evening. You know, I wonder if you could start by just framing for us what the Children's Act says about prosecuting a minor. How is a child managed once they are arrested?
Thank you for having me. It is actually the Child Justice Act that deals with children who are in conflict with the law. And the Child Justice Act has as its basis diversion of children from the criminal justice system. If that can't be avoided, then it again has as its basis in addition rehabilitation of minors. So taking into account the fact that children are still very much capable of rehabilitation, still very much capable of responding positively to programs that meet their individual needs. So those are the two bases that the Child Justice Act has. In addition to that, it has a separate child justice system for children so that it is not so that children are not exposed to the harsh effects of an adult justice system.
When it comes to bail, do the rules differ for considering whether you give a child bail? It's interesting that this 14-year-old is applying for bail. Apparently she just wants to be with her mother. We're hearing that she's suicidal. The state arguing that actually she's in the safest place. Could you explain how bail works for a minor?
Right. So once a minor is arrested, there are various options that presiding officers, even prosecutors, can take into account. One of them is releasing the child into the care of the parents. That is actually a preferable option. If that cannot be avoided, then a child is placed in a child and youth care center. Now, bail comes into account when presiding officers have to consider various factors, such as if the family of the child is able to pay bail, what is in the interests of a particular case, whether the child should remain in a center or should remain in the care of their parents. So courts are looking at the individual circumstances of the child involved, as well as the particular case that the child is accused of committing.
This is a child that everyone knows who she is because she was on camera seen bullying this Lufuno Muvhanga, who later went on to commit suicide. So apart from, you know, the stress of knowing that everyone knows who she is, you know, it's understandable that she's feeling suicidal. There would, of course, perhaps be real safety concerns if she were released, bearing in mind someone might decide to act recklessly and try and wreak some sort of revenge. Do you understand the state's reasoning for saying she might be better placed in custody? And if that is the case, would it be possible for her mother to join her if she needs her mother, for example?
Yes, so the state, the prosecutors have to take a number of factors into account, including sometimes the safety of the child in question. So if the case calls for the possibility of the child remaining in the child and youth care center that she currently is in, then the prosecutors have to consider that, to consider safety concerns around the child. Now, in terms of whether the mother can join the child, usually children, when they are detained, are kept in what we call child and youth care centers. Now, these are centers meant for children only. Obviously, then parents or caregivers are able to visit the children, have communication with the children. This allows for continued communication with the family and for the child to know that there are people there caring for the child and looking after the well-being of the child.
Talk to us about the trial process. I understand she has been charged with assault, then the state later added attempt to do grievous bodily harm. How serious are those charges? What sort of punishment, if she were to be found guilty, could she face, and how would it be meted out? She obviously wouldn't go to prison. Would she then go back to serve a sentence at a child and youth care centre if the sentence would indeed be that harsh?
Right. Assault with intent to commit grievous bodily harm is what we call a Schedule 2 crime. So we have Schedule 1, Schedule 2, and Schedule 3 crimes. So this is sort of in the middle. It is quite a serious offence. If this matter does go to trial, to the Child Justice Court, then the courts would, and let's say the child is found guilty, the courts would have various options in terms of sentencing, having looked at the crime that has been committed, the needs of the victims and community to see justice done, but as well as, most importantly, the need of the individual child herself, potential for rehabilitation. And there are various options, from serving community service to being sent to a diversion program to do with whatever needs she has. It may be having a social worker support, psychological support, whatever needs she has, intervention in that sense. And there are circumstances where children may be detained, but that is your last option. So courts want to use detention as a last option and instead divert children away from a justice system and still give children a chance to be rehabilitated and to become contributing members of society, because they are still children and there still is a chance to do that with the children.
Well, thank you so much. Such an interesting insight into how justice works for children. Zita Nefale, thank you so much. Senior Project Coordinator at the Centre for Child Law in Pretoria.